Hey everyone, Naomi here with the last live show demo of the day. This year, the honor goes to Murdered Souls Sacrifice, so let's see what it's all about. Greg, take it away.
As I live and breathe. Eric, how you doing?
It's a
good
pleasure.
to have you
It's
here.
a pleasure.
Let me tell you, this Murdered Soul Suspect business. You released that first trailer, everyone in the IGN office squawking about it. I'm like, I'll be the judge. Sit down, I'm like, all right, I'm in. That's all it took. Tell everybody at home, what is this game?
So, Murdered is a supernatural detective thriller. That's a
Done.
new take.
Everyone, turn it off. There you go. Pre-order, everybody.
It's a new take on the detective investigation action adventure genre.
Yeah.
And I think that what we've got is something that's really fresh and really original. I'm really looking forward to people getting their hands on it.
So obviously, right here, you got a ghost over his own body. He's the murdered guy, I'm guessing.
Yeah. So in the first 5 minutes of the game, we kill off our lead character. And now that he's trapped in this weird limbo realm called the Dusk, he has to solve his own murder.
Gotcha. So what is the character's name?
Ronan O'Connor, he grew up as a thief, actually. His parents were thieves. He grew up and decided that he wanted to go straight, and ultimately he became a detective for the Salem Police Department. And now he brings this dichotomy of his personality with him as he starts investigating these crime scenes.
So we're playing as him. We're playing as Ghost Cop, I'm going to call
Yes,
it.
yes we are.
Okay.
Yes we are, the whole way.
So then how do you do that? That sounds like a boring game, trying to move stuff. You can't do anything.
Well, the interesting thing is that there's a dual-edged sword effect here as being a ghost. You can't really interact with the living world that much. You can't really speak to humans. You can't pick up things. So the kind of stuff that you'd be used to doing as a detective, examining evidence, is not possible for you. So we asked the player to look differently at investigations. They have a lot of powers, a lot of special abilities as a ghost that they wouldn't have otherwise. As we go through the demo, you'll see things like he can possess living people. He can't control them directly. Again, we want to try to create an environment where the player needs to think differently. And so you'll look through the character's eyes that you're possessing, you'll hear through their ears, you can influence their thoughts slightly. You're also able to do things like reveal information back into the Dusk, and we'll see that a little bit later on in the demo.
All right, it sounds like a very heady but very cool game. Where'd you guys come up with the idea, really?
So our creative director, Shiokawa-san, who actually works with Square Enix Japan, he was watching the movie Die Hard, of all things.
Yeah.
And,
I remember the scene where Bruce Willis is killed.
Yeah,
his
he
ghost
killed,
comes
right,
out,
exactly.
Possesses
And
Carl.
in this alternate version of Die Hard, Bruce Willis, what happens if he got stuck in Nakatomi Tower?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, he wouldn't just resign himself to his fate. He'd find a way to save his wife. He'd find a way to bring the bad guys to justice. And he would overcome these impossible odds to save the day. And that was sort of the kernel of the idea. That's where it all started. So he took this to Square Enix, and they were pretty excited about it. And then they ultimately brought it to us at Airtight, and we're like, were you interested? And we're like, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So we built a team around this with a very strong cinematics background. We've got a lot of writing background. And we started working on prototypes. And the game really gelled when we got to this notion of, as a ghost, how do you solve these crimes? How do you, resolve the issues around your unfinished business? How do you bring your killer to justice? And having the story being told through the character as he investigates these scenes, it really works.
So what are some of the, obviously we finally taking control here. We're Ghost Cop walking around.
So some of the things you're going to see, you saw that text floating in the environment. Ronan doesn't have access to things like a notebook or a notepad. Sure. So we represent all of his investigation, all of his objectives, what he's trying to find out in this sort of mind's eye representation of the world.
Real quick, I enjoy that he doesn't have access to a notebook, but he's smoking. Plenty access to ghost cigarettes, no sweat, but the ghost notebook, that's preposterous.
Well, absolutely, because notebooks are very rare. I mean, I don't know. In the Dusk, at least, they're very rare.
Okay, that makes sense. That's good.
So the Dusk, which is where he lives now, at least, you saw the sort of objects, the glowing objects in the background. Those are brought into the Dusk because of trauma. And when someone dies or suffers horribly, it causes these imprints of these objects to come into this space. And so that's what Ronan can interact with. As he moves his way through the crime scene, you'll see that he passes through pretty much all physical objects.
Yeah, I saw him glide through the caution tape.
Yes, absolutely. And that will persist through the entirety of the game. So right now what the player is doing is he's looking around the crime scene, trying to pick what his first steps are going to be. So I mentioned Ronan's background, and in life, he was an excellent investigator, one of the best in Salem. And that carries over immediately in the dusk. The first power that he's going to use is his ability to observe and come to conclusions just through observation.
Gotcha.
So when he was here originally, he was in the heat of the moment, he thought, well, maybe I missed something. So now again, through this representation of his mind's eye, he remembers that he fell from the window and then was gunned down by his killer.
Gotcha.
Now when he makes that observation, you're going to see this flashback of the event. And again, this is all sort of playing out in his head as he puts the pieces together.
Interesting. All right, I like what you're doing so far. So you're following up on the trailer.
That's right.
Strong demo so far.
So the next step that you're going to see is, and this is where we're talking about asking the player to think laterally about investigations.
Yeah.
We don't want them investigating it like they would any other game. So you're going to possess Officer Stewart here, and you're going to look through his eyes now. And so your goal is to try to figure out what piece of information on his notebook that he's at this point written down is relevant to your case.
Okay.
So as you look through, one of the things you're going to see is, victim's gun was the murder weapon. Well, this is really relevant because it gives you some insight. It tells you that the killer didn't come here with the intention of killing you. He was sort of caught up in the heat of the moment. That's a pretty important clue about what the motivations of the killer is.
Ooh. Now you earned 5 badges.
Yes.
This sounds important.
So the way we work through the game is investigations, we want the player to succeed. So we're trying to reward success rather than punish failure.
Yeah, okay.
We want the player to experience the storyline. We want them to figure out what happens with Ronan. We want to see them take it to the next step, right? And so if you do the investigations really well and you don't make mistakes, you get more badges, which increases your rank, it gives you more experience, and then it allows you to upgrade your character later on in the game.
Interesting. What kind of upgrades are you looking at?
So we'll see some of those in the game.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to spoil.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to spoil. It's good. I didn't want to tip your hand.
No. Right now, obviously, he's a brand new ghost.
Yeah.
Right, so he's still coming to terms with what he's capable of.
He's a baby ghost.
Exactly. He's a youngling.
Yeah.
As he makes his way through the game, he'll start to sort of realize his potential as a spirit. And he'll get new abilities, and you saw possession. There'll be enhancement to some of those abilities. We're going to show you another ability a little bit later in the demo, and then you can upgrade those even further as you unlock them.
Okay. So now my next question is probably a spoiler for the rest of your demo.
Sure.
I'm assuming not every level is like this. Are there other ghosts that are going to chase him and stuff? Are there actions, gunplay stuff?
We'll definitely see that there are no ghost guns in
no
our
ghost
game.
Guns,
no
okay.
ghost guns. But there are enemies.
Okay.
You will encounter these spirits. They are extremely threatening. Okay. It's important for us that the player not feel safe in the dust.
Sure.
These enemies will hunt you down. They will try to devour your soul if you're not careful. They're extremely overpowering. And so when you encounter these, you need to make sure that you attack them when they're not expecting it. Because otherwise, you're never going to win against them. So what you're going to see now is once you've found all the data in a crime scene, we want you to put the pieces together. And so in this version of the experience, what we have is, okay, so we need to answer a couple of questions here. So the first thing we want to do is, what do the cops know? Well, after looking at Stewart's notebook, we know that the killer came here. We know that the cops know that the killer came here and was not intending to kill Ronan. And after listening to the conversation, we know that the police have figured out the basic order of events.
Okay.
But we also know something that the cops don't know. The witness that you saw me influence, I actually put my own memories into her head. And she's so distraught, she can't articulate clearly to the cops. But by getting her to think about one of my own memories, she actually is able to, I'm able to read her mind and get that information. So now I have data that the police aren't aware of.
I gotcha.
So now that I've completed the investigation, Ronan's going to figure out, I need to get upstairs, I need to continue my investigation. There may be more up there that I haven't discovered yet.
I hope he solves it all right now.
If that happened, we wouldn't have much of a game.
No, you wouldn't. Maybe episodic.
Yeah, right, exactly.
How long are you guys aiming for as far as the playthrough? And I know it varies.
Yeah. We've got a pretty robust storyline, I think. I mean, I think players are going to be engaged for many hours while they work their way through the critical path. But we've also got a lot of side quests, a lot of optional content that they can partake in. And if they choose to do that, they're going to be in the world for quite a while, I think.
I wanted to go talk to the ghost lady.
You will be able to do that.
I mean, come on, you see her, go talk to her.
Yeah, so, I mean, other ghosts exist in the place, and all ghosts exist for the purpose of finishing their unfinished business.
Okay.
And Ronan, as he makes his way through the game, will be able to do this. So some of the quests that you'll be able to take on will have you interacting with ghosts, will have you sort of learning their history and figuring out what they're all about. So we're sort of, one thing you're seeing here is...
666, no wonder he's in trouble. Come on.
Yes.
Stay away from the devil.
It's a rather foreboding portent.
Yeah,
but, so as you're seeing here, we're jumping up to the second floor, and what you're seeing is some spiritual ghost graffiti. Now this young girl leaves this in the world, and she'll play a pretty important role later on in the game.
Okay.
Now, as Ronan touches the wall, you realize that he's way more powerful than he has any understanding of. And this sort of hints that he's going to be able to grow and expand as a character as he makes his way through the game. Right?
Interesting. Very interesting.
Looks like.
So now he's trying to get back to figure out, he's going back to his apartment, or wherever he was.
Yeah, he's making his way back up to the 4th floor here.
And now, you were saying before earlier, he pieced it together, remembering falling out the window and stuff.
Yes.
Is his memory jumbled like the woman's was too?
No. He's got a clear memory of everything that's going on.
Okay.
The reason he's come back to this space is that he doesn't know where his killer went after he killed him.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And so he believes that his first best shot is by going back, revisiting the crime scene, seeing if there's anything that he missed in the heat of the moment.
I got it. What the hell is this thing? One of the guys got to run from?
So this is one of the demons that we hinted at.
You ain't got no ghost gun, you got to run. As if his day couldn't get worse.
I know. It's really important for Ronan to feel like he needs to get out of this place, that he needs to be, it's sort of a ticking clock in that sense, that what it's interesting about the demons is that they used to be human spirits.
Yeah.
And the longer you stay in the dusk, the more likely it is that you are going to become one of these things.
Interesting.
So, like everything in the game, we want the player to be really thinking about what he's doing. We want him to be building strategies, utilizing his abilities. Here he's going to pass through this wall and destroy the demon from within without him even realizing it.
Damn, son.
And so
he's brave, but even I would just run. Where's my ghost gun? I got no ghost gun. I'm out of here.
So, our creative director, I thought, put it pretty well. If you think about our game, combat is almost like a different type of investigation. We want the player thinking about these encounters. We want them building strategies. We don't want them rushing in headlong, because if they will, the enemies will kill them.
Yeah, I saw it down there when you got to the stove causing malfunction and stuff. I'm hoping I see some of that. Not trying to force your hand on what's going to happen. Also, as a game developer, designer, a bug tester,
yes.
Is this a nightmare? Being able to walk through walls? You're breaking your own game's logic? You got people flipping out?
Yes, it's you have to have a really clear sense of what you should and should not be able to walk through. And it is a challenge both from a design standpoint and from a player standpoint, because you don't realize how used to walls and doors you get, guiding players' direction.
Yeah.
And
so you start blowing through everything.
Yeah, exactly. So as you can see here, I'm using the ability of possession. When you're possessing a human, the demons can't see you. So you can use that to get up real close to them when they're not expecting
pop
it.
out and execute.
Exactly. And there's one other thing that the player's gonna start using here. It's called teleport right now, where you can move quickly and silently over short distances. And this is good for some traversal puzzles, but it's also really good for getting behind demons and attacking when they're not expecting it. So as you can see here, he's gonna teleport, and then boom, kill the demon. And so it's all about building those strategies, remembering what abilities you have, and then executing on those plans that you
Gotcha.
So now we're going to make our way up to the 4th floor apartment, and this is where the final piece of the investigation occurs.
Interesting. It's got like and I know it's set in like modern times, but it has like that noir feel to it, right? It's
Absolutely.
A noir story.
Yeah, and it's a really, really compelling murder mystery, I feel like. But the other thing that works for us from an aesthetic standpoint is the town of Salem, our fictionalized version of Salem. It's this really great, small New England town, right? And it's got this great visuals of brick buildings, wood signs everywhere, and it really enhances the overall aesthetic of the presentation.
Also home of a bunch of witches.
Salem does have a very rich history in the supernatural, and it makes it just an easy place to set a game about ghosts.
Well, Eric, when does Murdered Soul Suspect come out?
Murdered comes out in early 2014.
All right. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, it was a pleasure.
It's been a great time.
Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, the last gameplay demo is in the books. To find out what comes next, let's kick it over to the bewitching Naomi Kyle.
I love Bewitch. And how did that demo look to you? Of course, because we want to know. Send us your tweets at IGN with the hashtag E3 2013. And okay, it's been an amazing show, but all roads have led to this, our very last segment of IGN Live at E3 2013. Coming up, we're going to find out what game won IGN's People's Choice Award for the show, the entire show. So stay tuned.